You look at your bank account and feel that familiar wave of panic, but what you are experiencing is not a lack of money, it is a complete lack of a financial system. The corporate elite convinced you that wealth requires luck or privilege, hiding the brutal reality that your emotional, unstructured spending is exactly what funds their generational empires. Today, you are going to learn the exact psychological architecture the 1% uses to control their capital, allowing you to stop surviving the economy and start building an unbreakable fortress of freedom. Society loves a good excuse. It is incredibly comforting to believe that the wealthy are just lucky. It protects your ego to think that the 1% inherited everything, or that they had perfect timing in the stock market. But when you strip away the narrative and look at the clinical data, the defining variable between the wealthy and the permanently broke is not the size of their first paycheck, it is their behavioral psychology. The 99% operate on a reactive framework. They view money as a measure of survival. They earn a paycheck, they pay the banks, they pay the government, they buy synthetic status to impress strangers, and then they look at what is left. By operating reactively, they guarantee their own mathematical destruction. The 1% operate on an entirely different plane of consciousness. They do not view money as a goal to be achieved. They view money as raw material. To the elite, every single dollar is an employee, and an employee has a specific job to invest, to protect, or to multiply. They do not let their capital sit idle, and they certainly do not let human emotion dictate where it flows. You must kill your financial emotions. This brings us to the first identity shift. You must stop viewing your paycheck as permission to consume and start viewing it as ammunition to build. You are joining the minority that constructs freedom over luxury. When you begin to think like the 1%, you realize that true wealth is invisible. It is not the designer clothing, it is the peace of mind knowing you have total dictatorial control over your financial destiny. But recognizing that money is a tool is only the theoretical foundation. How do the elite actually capture the money before it leaks away into the corporate machine? They use a specific mechanical framework that removes human frailty entirely. The architecture of absolute control. The middle class relies on a concept that is biologically doomed to fail. They rely on discipline. They tell themselves they will try harder next month. They promise they will save whatever's left over after they have enjoyed their weekend. But willpower is a finite neurochemical resource. By Thursday evening, your prefrontal cortex is exhausted from a stressful work week, and your primitive amygdala takes over. You order the expensive food. You buy the luxury item. You justify it because you worked hard. The elite understand that human discipline is pathetic. They do not trust themselves to make good financial decisions at the end of the month. So, they build systems. A system is a cold, emotionless machine. The 1% practice absolute upfront allocation. The moment capital enters their ecosystem, it is violently divided into three distinct buckets: growth, protection, and lifestyle. Growth is the capital deployed into appreciating assets, stocks, and high-income skills. Protection is the capital locked into cash reserves and defensive structures so they never have to panic during a crisis. Lifestyle is whatever happens to survive that initial purge. The rule is absolute. Invest first, spend later. They automate this entire process. The money flows into investment accounts before they ever see it in their checking account. They artificially create scarcity in their daily lives to ensure abundance in their net worth. Structure removes emotional mistakes. When you have a system, you do not have to negotiate with your own laziness. The machine executes the wealth-building process while you sleep. Step out of the consumer matrix. When you implement this architecture, you are no longer playing the victim game. You are building sovereignty. You are taking the exact mechanisms that Wall Street uses to extract wealth and reversing the flow. You are not here to look rich for people who do not care about you. You are here to become untouchable. But even a perfect defensive system is useless if you do not understand the math of offense. You can automate your savings, you can cut your expenses, and you can live efficiently. But you cannot save your way to true wealth, and this is where the middle class is mathematically, permanently trapped. The painful truth about hard work. You have been lied to since you were a child. You were told that if you put your head down, work hard, and put in 80-hour weeks, you will become wealthy. This is the most dangerous financial illusion in modern society. If you are trading hours for dollars, your wealth is permanently capped. It does not matter if you make $20 an hour or $200 an hour. You are bound by the laws of physics. There are only 24 hours in a day. If you get sick, if you want to take a vacation, or if you simply burn out, the income drops to zero instantly. Working harder is a linear equation. Wealth is an exponential equation. The 1% do not try to work more hours. They focus on the ultimate financial formula. Wealth equals value, multiplied by leverage, multiplied by time. They build assets that scale without their physical presence. They acquire equity. They build businesses. They buy cash flowing real estate, and they hoard index funds. They are obsessively focused on building streams of income that continue to flow, whether they are sitting in a boardroom or sleeping on a beach. This is the definition of cash flow. When you have one source of income, your corporate salary, you are a hostage. Your boss owns your time, your calendar, and your stress levels. When you build multiple streams of independent cash flow, you buy back your life. Stop trading your finite life for paper. It is time to elevate your perspective. You must refuse to be a highly paid slave to the system. You must transition from the mindset of an earner who begs for a raise to the mindset of an owner who builds equity. The 1% do not want a higher salary. They want a higher percentage of the system. But when you begin to build these assets, you will inevitably face a crisis. The market will crash, the economy will contract, and human panic will infect the masses. What is the mechanism the elite use to profit when everyone else loses everything? The neurochemistry of the crash. When you observe the masses during a financial recession, you are watching a masterclass in emotional collapse. When the stock market drops by 20%, the average retail investor feels physical pain. Their brain interprets the loss of capital exactly the same way it interprets a physical threat. They panic. They sell their assets at the absolute bottom of the market just to make the anxiety stop. They manage their emotions rather than managing their money. The 1% operate with terrifying clinical detachment. They understand that a market crash is not a tragedy. It is a transfer of wealth. While the middle class is panic selling their portfolios, the elite are deploying their cash reserves to buy world-class assets at a massive discount. They do not guess. They do not chase hype. They do not buy volatile meme stocks hoping to get rich by Friday. They invest based on immutable principles. They understand the golden rule. Time in the market is always greater than timing the market. They zoom out. They look at a 30-year horizon while the amateur is obsessing over a 30-day chart. Because they have built their systems and secured their protection buckets, they are completely immune to the noise. You are the architect of your reality. This is the ultimate expression of financial consciousness. You do not react to the news. You do not let the fear of the crowd penetrate your logic. You execute a clinical strategy while the masses run in circles. You choose delayed gratification, sacrificing short-term pleasure to guarantee long-term dominance. But true wealth is not measured by what you consume in your lifetime. If you build an empire and it collapses the day after you die, you failed. There is one final piece to this architecture. It is the darkest, most powerful secret of the 1% and has nothing to do with your bank account today. The legacy mindset. The middle class thinks in terms of weekends and paychecks. The elite think in terms of decades and generations. They are not just building wealth for themselves, they are building a legacy that outlives them. But here's the critical distinction. Generational wealth is not just passing down a massive pile of money. If you give millions of dollars to an heir who has the mindset of a consumer, that money will be destroyed in less than 5 years. The true secret of the elite is that they pass down the system, they pass down the knowledge, they pass down the habits, the financial discipline, and the psychological frameworks that built the wealth in the first place. They teach their children that money is a tool, that leverage is power, and that emotional control is mandatory. They achieve this through absolute simplicity. The financial industry wants you to believe that wealth is complicated. They want you confused by jargon so you pay the management fees. The elite know that simplicity wins. Fewer, higher quality investments, clear, unbreakable rules, absolute clarity. When you strip away the noise, you realize that poverty is a series of reactive, emotional decisions, and wealth is a series of proactive, structured choices. The 1% is not a social class you are born into. It is a level of consciousness you choose to adopt. While others chase luck, you build systems. While others spend for validation, you invest for freedom. That is not finance, that is sovereignty. And sovereignty is the quiet superpower that separates the 99% from the elite. Hit the subscribe button as your declaration of commitment. Are you choosing to be the architect, or will you remain a spectator? Master your mind. Build your system. See you in the next protocol.